Hey everyone, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're taking a trip back to the late 70s with Diff'rent Strokes, the classic sitcom that brought us the unforgettable Arnold Jackson and his iconic catchphrase. This beloved series tackled important social issues while keeping audiences laughing, but behind the scenes there's a whole world of surprising facts, controversies and untold stories. So get ready for a dose of nostalgia as we uncover 20 things you never knew about Diff'rent Strokes. Gary Coleman rose to network stardom after impressing producer Norman Lear with an unexpected impromptu audition. Having appeared in several TV commercials in Chicago, Gary was called to Hollywood in 1976 for another commercial. Before heading back home, he was invited to Tandem Productions for a potential role in a new Little Rascals series. 3 episodes of the show were filmed with Gary playing Stymie, but the series was never picked up. Lear, recognizing Gary's talent, decided to nurture his career with guest appearances on shows like The Jeffersons, where he played George Jefferson's nephew Raymond, and Good Times, as a mischievous character named Gary Daniels from the Evanses building. In early 1978, Tandem aimed to pair Gary with Conrad Bain, the sophisticated, middle-aged Canadian Scot, best known for his role in Maude. The show centered on a wealthy man living in an affluent suburban town of Hastings-on-Hudson, New York, who adopts a black child from the Harlem ghetto. However, Conrad Bain became involved in reshaping the concept into a different and improved version. In this updated show, Gary's character gained a brother, and the wealthy man was now residing on Park Avenue with his teenage daughter and a middle-aged housekeeper, all with well-defined, credible personalities. NBC was so impressed with their script reading that no pilot of Diff'rent Strokes was necessary, and the first episode aired on the 3rd of November. Though Bain was intended to be the show's lead, it was Coleman's portrayal of Arnold that truly captivated audiences. As a result, the series never dropped out of the top 30 in ratings during its first 3 seasons. While the show was never highly politicized, some viewers were uneasy with the premise of a wealthy white millionaire adopting 2 black children. After the show's premiere, Conrad Bain received threatening letters from the Ku Klux Klan, sealed in wax by a grand dragon. Todd Bridges also claimed that he was harassed by people who identified themselves as Klan members. The title may have been inspired by Muhammad Ali. The boxing legend, who made a cameo in a 1979 episode, was quoted by the great Ben Daily Tribune in 1966 as saying, "Different strokes for different folks." Musician Syl Johnson later helped popularize the phrase with his 1968 song. Before settling on the stylized title, producers had considered naming the show 45 Minutes from Harlem. The writers were mindful of not overusing the "Whatchu Talkin' Bout Willis" catchphrase in future seasons to keep it from becoming stale, but their efforts weren't entirely successful. By the late 1990s, Coleman had grown so tired of the phrase that he refused to say it. According to series writer Ben Starr, the character of Arnold originally had a line scripted as, "What are you talking about, Willis?" However, when Gary Coleman read it, he naturally compressed it into, "What you talking about, Willis?" Sitcoms have been tackling serious themes in at least as far back as the 1970s, when Edith Bunker was assaulted in a particularly shocking episode of All in the Family. However, it wasn't until the 1980s that comedies regularly embraced Movie of the Week topics to generate press attention and boost ratings. In 1983, Diff'rent Strokes aired a 2-part episode about child molestation, in which Gordon Jump, later known as Maytag's lonely repairman, attempts to prey on Arnold and his friend. The episode's success led to a string of very special episodes covering issues like bulimia, epilepsy, alcoholism, and the dangers of hitchhiking. Fittingly, the show's final episode in 1986 was also very special, with Arnold investigating a steroid scandal for the school newspaper. Coleman's short stature was a result of medication he took to treat a genetic birth defect. He was born with one atrophied kidney and the other already failing. By the age of 5, he had received his first kidney transplant. After a second transplant in 1984 and facing another operation in 1986, Coleman chose instead to undergo dialysis 4 times a day. Throughout this, the drugs used to manage his condition caused a suppressed growth phase. By the age of 14, Coleman realised he wouldn't grow beyond 4 feet 8 inches. If you're enjoying the video, a subscribe to the channel would be what Willis was talking about. Despite being the main attraction, Coleman was initially paid a modest $1,800 per episode when the show debuted. His parents, who also served as his managers, successfully negotiated a raise to $30,000 per episode. By 1981, with the prospect of lucrative syndication earnings, they pushed for another increase. His salary was eventually raised to $70,000 per episode, making him NBC's highest-paid comedic actor for a time. Eager to capitalize on Gary Coleman's popularity, NBC executives had him make guest appearances on a variety of their programs. Arnold was featured on Silver Spoons, the Diff'rent Strokes spin-off The Facts of Life, and even the Steven Spielberg-produced anthology series Amazing Stories. In the episode Remote Control Man, a TV-addicted husband is given a magical remote that allows him to transform his family into popular television characters. He zaps his wife and children into June Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver, Face from the A-Team, and Arnold. All the original actors returned for the roles. Spielberg wrote the story, while Bob Clark, director of A Christmas Story, directed the episode. Despite being vocal about wanting to move on from Diff'rent Strokes, Coleman agreed to reprise his role as Arnold for the 1996 series finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After the Banks family decides to part ways to pursue their own opportunities, Will shows their home to prospective buyers, including Arnold and Mr. Drummond. As he approached adulthood, a teenage Gary Coleman grew increasingly tired of playing the young Arnold. For the final season, he successfully petitioned the writers to place Arnold in high school, allowing for more mature storylines such as dating and driving, with less of the familiar routine of jumping into Mr. Drummond's lap. When NBC cancelled Diff'rent Strokes in 1985, rumours circulated that Gary Coleman was at fault, allegedly demanding too much money. However, in an interview, Coleman firmly denied the claims, stating, "I had nothing to do with the cancellation of Diff'rent Strokes. The show was ultimately cancelled due to low ratings more than any other factor." The sitcom marked Nancy Reagan's first acting appearance since 1962. Of all the guest stars, none were more significant than the First Lady. Her appearance resulted in a 24% surge in viewers, with 32.5 million Americans tuning in to hear her deliver the Just Say No message. The show spawned one very successful spin-off, The Facts of Life, which premiered in 1979. The show focused on Mrs. Garrett, the Drummond's housekeeper, who left to become the house mother at an all-girls boarding school. The series was somewhat more successful than Diff'rent Strokes, running for 9 seasons, making it one of the longest-running sitcoms of the 1980s. There was also a crossover series, Hello Larry, which aired from 1979 to 1980. It starred McLean Stevenson as Larry Alder, a radio talk show host and divorced father raising 2 teenage daughters in Portland, Oregon. NBC attempted to boost the struggling show's ratings by linking it to Diff'rent Strokes, having Larry portrayed as an old army buddy of Mr. Drummond. Several crossover episodes were produced where characters from Diff'rent Strokes appeared on Hello Larry, but the strategy didn't work, and Hello Larry was cancelled after 2 seasons. Arnold had 2 recurring friends, Dudley and Robbie. Dudley's original last name was Johnson, but it was later changed to Ramsey. Robbie's full name was Robbie Jason. Both characters were named after 2 of the show's regular writers, Robert Jason and A. Dudley Johnson Jr. Alan Thicke co-wrote the theme song, best known either for his role as Dad Jason Seaver on Growing Pains or as the father of singer Robin Thicke. Alan Thicke also made his mark in the 1980s by composing a number of memorable television themes. In addition to writing the theme song for Diff'rent Strokes, he wrote for The Facts of Life and various game show theme tunes. Following the cancellation of the show, Gary Coleman, Todd Bridges and Dana Plato faced difficulties securing acting jobs. All three encountered various personal and legal troubles. This became known as the curse of Diff'rent Strokes, a term coined by several tabloids. 3 years after the show ended, Gary Coleman sued his parents and former manager for misappropriating his trust fund. Although he was awarded over $1 million in the settlement, he filed for bankruptcy in 1999. In 1998, he was charged with assault after punching a woman while working as a security guard at a shopping mall. In 2001, still employed as a security guard, Coleman was videotaped attempting to stop a vehicle from entering the mall. The driver mocked him, and the tape was subsequently aired on several television shows. In 2007, Coleman was cited for disorderly conduct in Utah following a heated discussion with a woman. In May 2010, after battling health issues related to congenital kidney disease since childhood, Coleman was admitted to a medical center after falling and hitting his head following a seizure. He was placed on life support after suffering an intracranial hemorrhage and passed away 2 days later. Coleman's death at 42 years old was officially ruled an accident, but some of his closest friends believe there was more to the story. They suspect foul play and point the finger at his ex-wife, Shannon Price. However, Price has repeatedly denied the allegations, insisting, "I didn't touch him, nothing happened." In season 6, Dana Plato became pregnant, and her character was written out of the series, although she made guest appearances in the final 2 seasons. In 1984, she married the father of her child, musician Lanny Lambert, but they divorced in 1990. Due to financial struggles and a growing addiction to drugs and alcohol, Plato eventually relinquished custody of her son Tyler to her ex-husband. In an effort to revive her declining career, Plato posed for Playboy in June 1989, but the appearance did little to secure acting jobs. By 1990, she was living in Las Vegas. Despite earning $25,000 per episode on Diff'rent Strokes, she was often broke and working as a cashier at a dry cleaners. In February 91, Plato was arrested for robbing a Las Vegas video store with a pellet gun. The following year, she was arrested again for forging prescriptions for Valium. In 98, she appeared in a softcore film titled Diff'rent Strokes, the story of Jack and Jill, which sought to capitalize on her fame. On May 8, 1999, she died from a drug overdose at the age of 34, with her death ruled as suicide. Tragically, in 2010, 2 days before the 11th anniversary of his mother's death, her son Tyler took his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Todd Bridges developed a cocaine addiction. In 1988, he was arrested and charged with the attempted murder of a drug dealer at a crack house in LA. He was acquitted in November 1989. But Bridges was also arrested on charges of carrying a concealed weapon and possession of cocaine, and in 1994, he faced arrest again after allegedly ramming someone's car following an argument. After years of battling his addiction, Bridges became sober in the early 1990s. Now he travels across the United States, speaking at schools about the dangers of drug use. He also wrote a book published in 2010 titled Killing Willis, From Diff'rent Strokes to the Mean Streets to the Life I Always Wanted. In it, he discusses his childhood sexual abuse, drug problems, and criminal charges. He has also continued acting in both films and television, appearing on Celebrity Big Brother in 2022. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Diff'rent Strokes. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.